Today's Magic by Design is brought to you by sand. It's everywhere. Get used to it. Hello there and welcome to Magic by Design. We are staying in Agrabah this week for a review of the second straight-to-video Aladdin sequel, Aladdin and the King of Thieves, first released in 1996. But before we steal some takes on the King of Thieves, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Ken and I am joined as always by my co-host slash brother, Garrett. Gar, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing fine. I'm doing Aladdin. Good. There's no puns there.
No, you tried, but you couldn't come up with something funny.
As I was distracted looking at the poster on the Wikipedia page for Aladdin 3 and the King of Thieves, which I always thought was called the Prince of Thieves for the very longest time.
Well, I think technically Aladdin is the Prince of Thieves.
Yes, because this is a movie about his father being the King of Thieves, therefore he is, by proxy, the Prince of Thieves.
Yeah, but I was writing the script and I kept on writing Prince, because I have it in my head that it's Prince as well, so...
But I do like that it's like Disney presents Aladdin and the King of Thieves, starring Robin Williams.
Yes, we'll get into that, but it's very much used to sell the film.
Well, he's Robin Williams. You would, and that's what they did, and that was a problem.
We've watched these films back to back.
Mm-hmm. One's bad, this is good.
Yeah, so this is a marked improvement on The Return of Jafar.
This is like a real sequel. Return of Jafar is like, we really lazily want to churn something out that has like the Aladdin intellectual property. But that takes none of these characters anywhere. It's just regurgitating the plot and the villain from the first film. There are no good songs, there is no good animation, there's no meaningful character development whatsoever. In fact, this film actually kind of undercuts the one little thing you could probably give the other film. So, like, that first sequel... horrific. It's everything you shouldn't do in a sequel. And this, like, it's by no means the best Disney film you will ever see in your life, but it's better than, like, half the Pixar sequels, never mind the Disney ones.
Yeah, there's some decent songs, and we do see some development with the characters, especially Aladdin. It answers some of the questions we would have had about his past in the first film.
Yeah, so they're just like, alright, so we have these characters, which one of them can we take somewhere? Jasmine... still a bit of an empty slate. There's nothing going on here in this film for her either. But
yeah, Genie came full circle in the first film.
Yeah, you can't do anything with the Sultan. They, for bizarre reasons, tried an Iago movie. Horrible idea. So like, hey, let's just make an Aladdin movie. We haven't explored his past. We've told you he's a street rat, but how did he become one? What is his background? We can dig into that. And they did. And it's pretty good. So, good job. This is what you do in a sequel. You actually say, how can we do, like, meaningful character development for one of our central characters? How can we make it different from the thing that happened before? Because this does... I will say the songs have a very... like, I don't think they're bad, but there is a sense of we're doing a version of an Aladdin song that doesn't feel particularly original and feels a little derivative.
But they are much more entertaining.
Yeah, they're better than the songs in the last movie. And yeah, the animation, listen, it's a straight to DVD, straight to VHS even movie, so you can't be like, whoa, thumbs up animation. But you know what, it's fine.
It's functional. Following the success of The Return of Jafar, a third Aladdin film went into production in 1995 with a release date of June 1996. Robin Williams, as we said, returned to reprise his role as the genie after he received an apology from Disney, not to mention a cool $1 million for his efforts.
Yeah, I'd imagine that was more important than the apology.
This time, very much on the understanding that his name would be used to sell the movie, which is why it's front and centre on the VHS sleeve.
I get the dilemma of Disney when the first one came out. I can't even remember if we talked about obviously the controversy,
we got into this,
but I can't remember exactly what I said. But like, I get the dilemma of like, this is the Robin Williams movie. Like, there's nothing else going on. Not nothing else, but like, not a lot else going on in this movie other than Robin Williams' performance. And we can't sell Robin Williams. Oh God, how do we sell this movie without talking? I get you could talk about the genie without talking about Robin Williams. You can sell the genie performance without being like, it's Robin Williams. But still, they back themselves into a corner by building a film around Robin Williams and then not being able to market it's built around Robin Williams.
Or if you changed your mind, you could say like, look, I know you did this for SAG or Scale, as they call it in the biz.
We will give you money in exchange for the ability to market your name.
Yeah, exactly.
That might have been the fair way to do it. Yes, you're right there. It's not like, let's just break our agreement and go back on our word. Instead, we'll just say, hey, listen, we really like to market this movie around you. Here's $1 million.
Yeah, and even now for a direct-to-video movie, $1 million is a lot for voice work.
Well, we did learn that the last VHS made $300 million.
Yeah, this is interesting though. I'll get onto that in a minute. The movie had started production with Dan Castellaneta playing the genie as he had in the animated series and Return of Jafar. All animation and audio produced to date had to be scrapped and reworked to suit Williams' comic timing and sensibilities. And this is also, it's made to be a climax to the animated series.
I would imagine that they distinctly rewrote the movie as well.
Oh yeah, like this movie, the bones of it are very much, I know there's the story between Aladdin and his dad, but actually, yeah, that's the bones, but the meat of it is very much the comedy of Robin Williams.
Yeah, they're like, they got Robin Williams back, so they're just like, Robin Williams, will you Robin Williams all over this movie, please? And he does. So I would imagine that, like, both from the animation standpoint of, I'd imagine they still did the same thing they did with the first one, where he did a considerable degree of improv and then animated around that. And then they probably wrote a lot more of it straight to Robin Williams as opposed to fake Homer Simpsons. It's weird. Robin Williams doesn't sound like Homer Simpson in this movie. He's doing it wrong. You
can see that they animated to his improvisations because there's some of the jokes, they're funny and, you know, Robin Williams does a good job, but they don't really fit with what's happening at the time. They're just asides.
It's very clear that there's, like, a bunch of jokes that are just references that I don't get. Honestly, there's a lot of references that went over my head in this movie.
Yeah, a lot of 90s characters that I have some awareness of, but not much.
You know, you mentioned Animaniacs while we watched it. And, like, I think the entire movie has a very Animaniac sensibility to it.
Yeah, even one of the characters, one of the 40 Thieves, is very similar to... I'd nearly bet that the voice actor was the same as the guard in Animaniacs.
Because, like, Animaniacs did that same thing where it's a lot of, like, pop culture references, a lot of, like, lampooning, political satire, that kind of stuff. And that's what Robin Williams does a lot of in this movie. And a lot of those references went, like, straight over my head, like, straight, like, whoosh. I was like, oh, God, that I don't understand what you're talking about. Even, like, the Kodiak, it's like, that's a Kodiak moment, and a bear shows up. It's like, oh, yeah, there's a Kodiak bear. It's a type of bear. So that's the reason the bear shows up. And, yeah, it's very Animaniacs. I found that interesting. And, like, Animaniacs was 93?
Yeah, so it would have still been there at this time, I think.
So while they were writing and producing this film, Animaniacs would have been in the zeitgeist. So maybe they are like, let's just run wild with Animaniacs. Because I checked the writers and directors to see was there any Animaniacs DNA in there, and there wasn't. Like, the writers went on to do Kim Possible most notably, which is, I don't see a through line there, but hey, it's one of the most beloved Disney cartoons of the early 2000s, so good job, guys.
To your point, though, Gar, at the time of release, the film was said to be outselling The Return of Jafar, but Disney, for some reason, opted not to disclose the official sales figures. In 1986, the film sold 10.3 million units in the United States, generating at least 130 million, equivalent to 215 million in 2020 in sales revenue. So it was the sixth best-selling video released in the United States in 1986, so it's hard to know if it did better, but this doesn't count to worldwide sales. But like we said, Robin Williams got paid $1 million for this, and there was a purported 70 million marketing campaign.
Really?
Yeah.
That seems like you're blowing a lot of money.
But then again, some of the things listed on the marketing campaign were tie-ins with restaurants and stuff, in which they probably made money.
Yeah, and listen, and they clearly put more money into this movie, to the actual production of it. Like, it's still your standard stock VHS cartoon style animation, and it is still, again, we mentioned this last week, the Disney Plus version is taken from the 4x3 to 16:9, and it doesn't look good. And like, there was a controversy, remember when The Simpsons first came to Disney Plus, and they did the same thing with The Simpsons, where they stretched the 4x3 era of The Simpsons to 16:9, because apparently they think people are babies and they can't look at a 4x3 screen and see black bars on either side. That'll melt some people's brains, apparently, so they can't allow it. But like, that was particularly an issue with The Simpsons, because The Simpsons has a ton of sight gags, like a ton of them, and some of them were cropped out of the screen.
Yeah, that was a big controversy. They spent a lot of time and money fixing that.
Yeah, so like, it might cause legitimate problems. You can see it in this movie. Like, there's a part where they do a little like Brady Bunch thing, where there's like 9 people in the parts of the screen, and the tops and bottoms is cropped off. And it's like, if there was a joke there, you'd miss it. I'm not sure it was there, but it's just unfortunate. I don't know why they do it. I don't know why. I get, because all of our displays these days are 16:9. So that's the reason they do it, because it fits the TV people are watching on better. But again, will people lose their minds if they just see black bars either side of the screen? Will that really drive people mental, Ken?
Yeah, and as you say, it looks really weird. Like, it looks kind of zoomed in and off.
It is. It's zoomed in. Because, like, when you take 4x3 and stretch it to 16x9, you cut off the tops and bottoms because you have to stretch it out. And that's what happens. I'm not sure, as I said, I don't think it'll be quite the same effect as The Simpsons, where you are losing jokes. Like, you were losing content from the show when they did that to The Simpsons. I don't think that's necessarily the case here. I don't think there's things in the edges of frames that you're going to miss. But still, it does make the animation look more stretched. It does make it look lower quality. Not that it was the highest quality in the first place, but it looks worse. And I'll never understand why they do it. It's like people can handle bars on the side of the screen. Stop it.
Yeah, once again, the animation was farmed out to a satellite studio abroad, which must be really weird for them to do all that Robin Williams stuff, because they don't understand for 1 second what they're animating.
Yeah, they're like Googling, or whatever the 1996 equivalent of Googling is, looking up Getty images and having them be mailed photos. I don't know how that works. How did that work in 96? Who knows? Well, they might have had the internet. How did search engines work? Because there was like Alta Vista. Could you type like Larry King? I'm not sure was there a Larry King satire, but that's just the example that came into mind.
Yeah, because they have like Forrest Gump and some of the ones that you would know very well, even in... I think they did some of this animation in Asia. But like some of the characters, I had no idea who they were.
Yeah, so. It's very clearly like American like media or political figures at the time that I don't know. Like I know Bill Clinton from 1996. Do you want to get any lower into like Republican or Democrat senior figures in the government in 1996? I probably heard of some of the names, would not be able to identify most of the people.
Like you though, Gar, it does seem to be a bit more visually consistent, especially around the set pieces.
Yeah, it does get a little blurry sometimes, but again, I'm not sure is that the animation itself or the fact that they're stretching it. But like, there's a couple 3D shots in this movie.
A couple of pans around, not too easy to do. Even characters, there was times where the frame rate seemed a bit off in terms of the movements, but like you have like a single shot where the character just looks really weird, as if you sketched it in 2 seconds, and like janky, where you're seeing less of that. And yeah, the colors are a bit more consistent as well. We'll talk about this, but as we get into the digital era and they move to computers, this animation will still be cheaper than the feature animation, but it will look better.
It'll look more consistent anyway with the things you've watched before. Because if you watch Aladdin, which was released in 92,
yes,
and then you watch this, which was released in 96, you'd be like, how can it be markedly worse? Because they put a lot less money into it. That's how it could look markedly worse. But it reminds me a lot of like the late 80s, early 90s eras of the cinematic animation. It's not the same quality, but it is the same like, hey, there's one 3D shot in this movie.
And, taking shortcuts, like they find the lost city where the Hand of Midas is.
Vanishing Isle.
Yeah, the Vanishing Isle. It's on the back of a giant turtle. That turtle moves, like, literally up and down. There's no, like, nuance to the movement at all. They do a close-up of its eye to get around the fact that it's like, yeah, it's alive, see? But the rest of them are, like, literally background shots with the turtle in it, and it just doesn't move whatsoever, and it just looks really weird.
Completely stationary, except when it has to sink into the sea, in which, like an elevator, it just goes straight down. There's no, like, if they did this in 2022, the turtle would have this big, like, swooping animation.
It'd be thrashing
Yeah, it would move forward, and it would go down, and you'd see the water rise up and submerge, and they'd be like, look at us flexing our animation, look how cool we are. 1996, straight to VHS, sinks.
Yeah.
Straight to, like an elevator, just down it goes.
Exactly, and you think if they had made this for theatrical release, what it would have looked like, at least a bit more interesting.
I want to go back and watch Pinocchio to see, did the whale do the same thing? I don't think it did.
Yeah, I think they put a lot of effort into the whale. Now, some of the close-ups were shortcuts just to kind of get a little bit further down the road, but there was a bit of animation there, I seem to remember.
And the Pinocchio was like the 50s.
Yeah, so they put more resources into that. One more thing about the animation, Gar. They still have the structure like a TV show, complete with pre-breaks, dip to black, which makes no sense and annoys me.
I do wonder if they were like so goddamn cynical that they're like, build it so we can air it on the Disney Channel in 2 years' time.
Probably.
Like so that when this releases on VHS and we can make all that money on the VHS sales, and then we can start airing it on broadcast, and that there we go. We don't even need to do any effort. It has built-in breaks. It has built-in act structures.
Yeah.
It is very strange that it just routinely fades to black. It's very odd.
It fades to black and then just goes to the next scene. You're like, what? What's happening here?
So yeah, I legitimately think they were so cynical that they're just like, let's build this thing from the outset so that we can cash in on syndication and on the Disney Channel where we air it. Go us, money.
Moving forward here to the story, Gar. The story is inspired by Alibaba and the 40 Thieves.
Oh, was it?
With Aladdin standing in for Alibaba. So I think that, as you said, provides a bit more interest for the story. It's something different. It's inspired by something that, we would have been aware of in this universe.
Yeah, we used to have a book around here that was Alibaba and the 40 Thieves. I read it, but I don't remember it. But it's an actual story, which I don't think the last movie was. The last movie was just like, it happened again. Jafar is here. Jafar is gone. Movie's over. There's no like story or arc. The only arc is Iago's, as we mentioned from the last one, where Iago betrays them and redeems himself and betrays them and redeems himself. And then in this movie, he betrays them again. Yeah. So like, even the one thing from the last movie where it's like, Iago, not about, no, Iago still betraying people.
Yeah, he's at it again, but at least in this case, nobody really gets hurt.
No, it's a more harmless betrayal, because the second he hears about the idea of treasure and the King of Thieves, he's like, yo, King of Thieves, how about we steal that treasure? Fair enough, you're potentially realizing your son is about to marry into the richest family in the kingdom. What do you need the treasure for? It's like, really? You're about to have like incalculable wealth, living in obscene power in this gigantic palace overseeing this kingdom. Why do you want the Midas hand? You already have everything you could possibly want. But still, it's greed, I guess. That's the moral of the movie.
But I also think that, at least in Kasim's case, which is Aladdin's father, played by Jonathan Rhys Davies, which I thought was a weird choice.
Gimli!
Added a bit too much gravitas for this direct-to-video film.
I liked at one stage someone was like, you sound just like him. It's like, no, he doesn't. Yeah. They sound completely different. He's English. Aladdin sounds American.
Yeah, but I think the whole point was that he left Aladdin and Aladdin's mother, who went on to die, to make good and to find the treasure and stuff like that. So I think it wasn't about the treasure for him. It was about justifying why he left them like a deadbeat. Yeah,
must be another John Rhys Davies is Welsh, by the way. Yeah. But he's doing like an English voice.
He's doing the Shakespeare voice.
Yes.
Yeah. What did you make of John Rhys Davies in this film as Aladdin's father? Again, it's a bit more intrigue. We're learning about Aladdin's past.
So I did have a problem at the start of the movie. Aladdin is getting married to Jasmine, and then the 40 thieves led by Kasim show up to raid the palace looking for a scepter that has an oracle in it, and the oracle can tell them where the amazing super treasure is, and only Kasim knows that it's the Hand of Midas that they're looking for, but the other 40 thieves are just ransacking a palace because lol. So Aladdin foils that little plot, gets the scepter, and then he's like, where is my father? It's like, your father has been kidnapped by the prince of the 40 thieves, and then shows an image of him where he's wearing the same clothes with the same brooch, and Aladdin, like an absolute dumbass, does not work out that the King of Thieves is his father. And I'm like, dude.
Well, in fairness, yeah, he just fought him, so he would have seen the clothes up close. But at the same time, the oracle was needlessly cryptic. It's like, oh yeah, he's the King of the Thieves. She could have just said that, but she was like, oh, he's trapped there, like, metaphorically, because he's actually a good guy, and with the right kind of love and support, he would separate himself from that crooked life. But yeah, she just decided to be cryptic about it.
Yeah, well, oracles always speak in metaphors, Ken. It's always the problem. It's like the genie 3 wishes thing. It's like, you will get the literal thing you wish for, which might not necessarily be the thing you wish for. Just like she will give you a metaphorical answer to your question sometimes instead of a literal one.
And for plot reasons, she can only answer one question.
Which does cause Iago great frustration and does make very little sense toward the end of the movie, where they're demanding that Kasim reveal the location of whatever they're looking for, and they're like, you do it. It's like, there's like 8 of you. You all have a question. You can all do it. It doesn't have to be Kasim.
But maybe they're dumb and don't realize that. They think he's the one that controls it, maybe? But they don't explain that, so...
I feel a greater need to explain the plots of these movies, because I'm like, you've seen like The Jungle Book, you've seen Beauty and the Beast. It's like, you probably haven't seen Aladdin and the King of Thieves.
Yeah, but come on, Aladdin, put 2 and 2 together, for God's sake.
Yeah, like grow a brain. And actually, I would have been more interested, like the way they should have done it, again, rewriting these Disney movies, the way they should have done it is very simply, he's like, oh, that can't be my dad. And he's in denial about it until like he finally unveils the shawl and he's like, oh God, it's my dad. Instead of doing the, I'm so goddamn stupid that I can't put these 2 things evidently in front of my face together. He should have been just like, no, I refuse to believe it, as opposed to, I'm too stupid to understand it.
Why does Aladdin not bring the genie when he goes to confront the 40 thieves? Do you think it was too easy from a plot point of view, or would they have had to pay Robin Williams more money?
Well, like they do cut back to scenes in the palace where like Robin Williams does a song during that period, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does another song.
So I don't think it's a cheapness about Robin Williams thing. I do think it's just like, if we bring him with him, the genie will help him kill your man. Like, it'll become too easy. So for some reason, like, it would have been better if he just went alone. That would have made more sense. But the fact that he brought the monkey, the parrot, and the carpet, but not his magic genie, it's just like, what are you doing here, Aladdin? Are you stupid on multiple counts?
Yeah, and he does everything with the genie, so it doesn't make any sense, really.
And like, I quite enjoy the friendship between Aladdin and the genie is more of like front and center here. They feel like, in the last movie, they felt like independent characters from one another, where here is like, they support each other, and they're here for each other, and they're actually friends with one another, as opposed to just, again, like just a random plot convenience to each other.
Yeah, I think that was a decided choice when they brought back Robin Williams, because there's a couple of lines where he's like, your dad did betray you, and he is a thief, but he's your dad, and you have to support him. And Robin Williams, with his characteristic, dramatic style, just he lands those lines much better. So I think that's possibly why they avoided that in the second film, because as much as Homer Simpson is a very good voice actor, I don't think he has that in him.
There's a lot of dramatic heft and pathos to Homer a lot of the time. That's the whole point of, like, the first 8 seasons of The Simpsons are Homer screwing up and, like, having the heart of gold and redeeming himself, until it became such, like, self-parody that he became cruel the amount he could have screwed up. And that's the problem with the Homer Simpson character. And, like, that's the reason you get, like, dumb children these days who watch, like, The Simpsons, like, I think this Homer character is problematic. It's like, no, it's the whole point of the character there, pal. But, yeah, Robin Williams just does have that extra little bit of oomph, that extra, like, dramatic heft, that extra, like, he does have that extra little pathos, that extra little, warmth to his performance that really underscores the relationship between Aladdin and Genie that was in the first movie and, again, missing from the second one.
And I was going to mention this at the start, but we can get into it now. Just the fact that Robin Williams is back just elevates this movie into a different tier.
Yeah, it's not like first movie tier, which I think is better, but it's still like, it's just Robin Williams. As I said, they're just like, yo, Robin, just do yourself. Just do it. We'll make it work. And that's what they paid him for, and he delivered it. And it does occasionally get overbearing, it does occasionally become, like, annoying, but that's Robin Williams sometimes. That's just the way his manic energy operates. But for the most part, it is just like, like the first 5 minutes of this movie, it's like, there's, like, more warmth and joke and depth and substance to the first, like, 5 minutes of this thing than there was in the entirety of Return of Jafar. Like, from the very beginning, both from, like, they just come straight in on Robin Williams' musical number, which is the smartest way you could possibly open the movie.
That's a very good course correct. You're like, look, we got the thing that you loved back, we're going to use it to its maximum. Yeah,
so they come straight in on there's a party here in Agrabah, and it's a good song, it's catchy. And then they go into, like, Aladdin being all, like, super bummed and sad that his dad is dead and, well, missing and not able to go to his wedding, and that sets up the dramatic the heft of the movie. But
he also had this dagger that he could have sold for food when he was starving for quite a long time, so
it is the single connection to his presumed dead father, Ken, and you want him to hawk it for an extra apple, do you? An apple he can steal because he's a very good thief.
It's in the blood, as we have learned. Jerry Orbach, who played Lumiere in Beauty and the Beast, plays Saluk, who is the villain of the piece, as it were.
Good villain.
Yeah, I liked him.
Good villain design with his frickin' knuckle claws.
Yeah, his golden Wolverine claw on one of his hands, and he doesn't like Kasim because he's taken the group in a more compassionate direction.
He just wants to pillage and steal from everybody, and whereas Kasim is like, there is the one rule of the 40 Thieves, we never hurt the innocent. Except, at the start of the movie when they literally collapsed an entire palace while ransacking it.
They completely collapsed the wedding pavilion, and the Sultan can't even conceive of having the wedding without the wedding pavilion.
Yeah.
But there must have been collateral damage there.
Somebody must have gotten hurt. The guards got hurt. They're innocent here, just that they're trying to stop you from robbing them. By the way, the guards of Agrabah, totally incompetent.
Yeah, they constantly let people get away.
Yeah, like in that opening sequence where the 40 Thieves are robbing the palace, they're just like bumbling and falling all over the place and getting their ass kicked. Very, very bad guards. And actually, it makes it less believable later in the movie when what's his name? Saluk betrays the 40 Thieves and gives away the location of their secret palace and the open sesame password. And the guards get to the secret hideout. I don't believe that the guards could still capture all of them because of how incompetent they were earlier in the movie. I still think they'd get their ass kicked.
Yeah, and we don't see all the guards, I suppose. We only see the core few because, who wants to animate all that?
We don't see the 40 Thieves all at once either.
So, like, they must have brought backup because they couldn't have captured them all themselves for sheer number reasons.
Well, I guess the idea is they've gotten the jump on them now by raiding their hideout. But as I said, I still think they'd get their asses kicked, based on what the movie told me earlier when they got their asses kicked.
They haven't exactly been competent in any of these movies.
No, they're very bad guards. Also, like, Razul, what's up? Why do you hate Aladdin so much?
I mean, like, I know initially he evaded you for years, but now he's come good, so you have to accept that.
He saved this kingdom, like, twice now. You should really be like, all right, you're about to be the son of the Sultan. I guess I have to let this slide.
Yeah. We also get our first Disney villain death by turning into solid gold.
That's pretty good, because, yeah, he just turns into gold. The whole thing is based around the treasure we're trying to find. It is the Hand of Midas, which reminds me of a very good moment from Tomb Raider 1. While you're exploring like a dungeon in Tomb Raider 1, you just see a golden hand, and it's not like an objective in the level or anything. It's just there, and you stand at it, and you turn to gold, and you die. And that's the only reason it's there. It's the only thing it does in the game. You just stand in it, turn to gold, and you die. It's good fun. But yeah, Saluk turns into gold, plummets to the depths of the ocean, I guess. I guess he's at the end of the palace.
He's probably dead already, though, when he turns to gold, right?
Is he just living inside a gold casing?
Is he solid gold, or is he encased in gold? That's the question.
Because which would you rather die of is the question. Because it's encased in gold and slowly suffocating and starving, which seems a very bad way to go. Or turn to gold, which seems like it would be excruciating in the moment, but like relatively short. Like it takes like 5 seconds for him to turn to gold.
Yeah, so it's probably quick. I think he's dead by the time he hits the water.
Yeah, I would rather be turned to gold than encased in gold. Because, as said, when you think about encased in gold, it would take you a few days to die between, like, you'd run out of oxygen or starve. You'd probably run out of oxygen first. You'd run out of oxygen and suffocate. That's a bad way to go.
Yeah, we've come to a very interesting would you rather, Gar.
Yeah, I would rather be turned to gold, is what I'm saying.
Interesting.
I'd rather every fibre of my being be turned to gold than be encased in gold. Sultan, absolute buffoon.
He, like just trusts everybody implicitly, even though he should have learned from these previous 3 movies that nobody should be trusted.
But like my favorite part is when he meets Aladdin's dad and he starts like talking a little about his past. It's like, I'll hear none of this. I don't want to hear anything more about you and your past. I'll insist upon it. We shall move on. And then like 40 seconds later in the movie, it's revealed that he's actually the King of Thieves, and the Sultan's like, what?
Oh, I don't know why this keeps happening to me.
I have been swindled and hoodwinked and tricked once more. How possibly could this have happened, despite my previous insistence that this man not tell me about who he was, even though I implicitly trusted him because he is the father of Aladdin.
And all he said was one line, like, I tried to block out the memories. He's like, say no more.
It's fine. We don't need to speak of this ever again. Until 40 seconds later when I realized you were in fact the King of Thieves and you just ransacked my palace, ruined my daughter's wedding, and I need to throw you in prison forever? Also, Iago too.
Yeah.
You stupid bird. You stupid betraying bird. Another small important note, Ken. Genie is left-handed. Consistently, which is a creative choice. So what does that mean?
Yeah. You mentioning his hands actually reminds me of something. I think I said this in the last episode. He's a freed genie now, but he still has the cuffs.
Yeah.
That annoys me.
I don't think you said it in the last episode. I think you said it while we were watching.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, that's a visual inconsistency and a story inconsistency that I don't like.
Maybe it's just a fashion choice now, Ken.
He's like, I don't have to wear them, but I want to.
Maybe he was looking at himself after the cuffs came off and he's like, you know what? There's something missing.
That's wrong.
You know, it just looked good. I enjoyed the cuffs, so let me get myself a nice pair of cuffs. They're just regular, normal cuffs instead of cursed cuffs that keep me locked to these magic powers.
They should have put it in the story, Gar. Just mention it. He's back from his world vacation, and they're like, "Oh, you have the cuffs on again. I thought they were part of the freeing deal that they were gone now." And then he's like, "Oh yeah, but it's more of a stylistic choice now." They weren't going to animate that, I suppose.
You know, Genie considering his sartorial options was not a thing that was in the script. I did enjoy when there was a bunch of luminaries showing up for the Aladdin wedding at the start of the movie, and you had like Caesar showing up and they made a Caesar salad joke, and they had Osiris there and it's a bird. And my favorite one was Thor, and Thor showed up. It's like, I'm Thor. Then Genie's like, Thor? It's like, well, it hurts. It's like, get a Thor because it sounds like sore.
Yeah.
This is a good joke. Good word. But there's a bunch of like little moments like that like they're not like, that's the best joke I have ever heard in the history of jokes. But it is like, it's a nice little joke, isn't it?
Yeah, a little chuckle here and there. Doesn't hurt. There wasn't any of that in the first film.
No, second film.
Second film. The first sequel.
You can now, I think I'm done with the story. Again, it's pretty solid. It takes Aladdin on a nice little emotional character arc where he has to confront his father, realize he is his father, but then he is not going to make the mistakes of his father, which is a nice, simple character arc. The rest of the characters are kind of doing nothing. Genie's just goofing the entire time, which is what you want from Genie, really.
But then he saves the day when he needs to.
Yeah, Sultan, utterly stupid. And Jasmine is basically scenery again in this movie. Poor Jasmine has absolutely nothing to do in all three of these movies, except for look at Aladdin googly-eyed.
And wear revealing clothing.
Yeah, and then Iago undoes his character growth from the previous movie. You know, that I honestly respect, because that's who he is. He's just like, opportunity, you say? Betrayal! Oh.
Parrots can't change their feathers, Gar.
Except in this one, where his feathers get plucked out of his ass and then he puts them back in.
It looks pretty sore.
I don't think that's how feathers work. I don't think you just reattach them.
We've referred to the songs already, Gar. The music is by Mark Waters and Carol Johnson. The songs are written by a bunch of different people that I didn't list. The movie has a completely new soundtrack as opposed to the rearrangement of the music from Aladdin in Return of Jafar. So quickly going through them, there's a party here in Agrabah. I think it's quite enjoyable. It has something of the charm of the songs of the first film.
Yeah, it's a big bombastic number, lots of songs. There's a really nice reprise of it with Aladdin when he talks about his dad and then he looks over the city and it's like, there's a little, melancholy to it. And it's like, oh, you've subverted the song a little. Good job.
Yeah, I should be happy, but I'm not. Out of Thin Air, not bad, advances the plot. It's thematically relevant. It's pretty good.
Your standard character song, your standard, Aladdin is sad, but you shouldn't be sad.
Welcome to the 40 Thieves. It's a classic Disney ragtag gang introduction song.
It's the chorus song. Yeah, you have the character song, you have the intro song, you have the character-specific story song, you have the standard chorus song where a bunch of ragtag misfits sing a song about who they are. They're really hitting the beats.
You have Father and Son, which is an okay song, but Robin Williams really elevates it. It's pretty good, but he adds a real charm to it.
Yeah, Robin Williams, he's very good, isn't he? He's a talented man.
Are You In or Out by Jerry Orbach, and of course, again, it's a decent villain song.
Pretty lame, though, as villain songs go.
It's not too bad.
Also, those dumb 40 thieves really, turned on their leader very quickly.
Yeah, they're like, no, we really like him. Why should we trust you? Actually, you know what? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It's because he sang it, Gar.
Yeah, I can't deny that. It's like when Ratigan shows up, he's like, Ratigan, oh, Ratigan, and everyone's like, oh, yeah, I'll follow you to the death.
And then we have another reprise of Arabian Nights, which is always good.
It's used to end as opposed to open. Well, actually, it closed the last couple of movies as well, but it doesn't open this one.
Yeah, and they kind of changed the words to wrap up the story. So, in terms of points of note, or legacy, as it were...
Does this film have any?
Aladdin and The King of Thieves won an Annie Award for Best Home Video Production in 1997.
And to be fair, deserves it.
Yeah.
It's a good movie. They didn't lazily churn one out this time. Even if it's probably produced for cynical reasons, again, they actually tried.
Exactly. And, it's not perfect, but it is a much better movie and much more enjoyable to watch. The movie serves as a series finale for the Aladdin TV series.
Which means it's basically, I know there's a crossover between Aladdin and Hercules.
Yeah, there's a couple more things that they're in, but nothing in terms of the main series.
So yeah, this is basically considered, unless you count Kingdom Hearts, the end of Aladdin as a character arc. So I think that's meaningful in its own way. Between 3 movies and 3 seasons of a television show, that's a lot of Aladdin content, hours and hours of Aladdin content. My favorite word, content. So at least it has that. It's the end of Aladdin.
Yes, and Aladdin and the King of Thieves is significant for depicting the wedding of Aladdin and Jasmine.
Oh yeah, they get married. I wonder, are they, because there's rumors they're going to do sequels to their live action movies.
Yeah.
And this does feel like one that did pretty well primed for a sequel.
Aladdin, the live-action film, did very well. There is, if it's not confirmed, there is heavy talk of a sequel. And they've denied that they're going to be based on Return of Jafar or King of Thieves, but they said they might borrow elements from both these films.
Well, yeah, don't.
Yeah.
Borrow elements from this one.
Yeah.
Ignore the last one.
Yeah, just do this one. As we said last week, it is the obvious choice to bring back Jafar, but this is the much better film.
Yeah, it actually does interesting things with characters instead of just retreading ground that you tread in the first movie.
Yeah, so overall, the animation, pretty much the same, but a bit more consistent.
Hampered by Disney Plus again.
Yeah, the songs are much more enjoyable. They're not anything that you're going to be listening to over and over again, but they are good, and Robin Williams does elevate the ones that he's in. The story is much more improved. It's not by the numbers. It's better. It tries to tell a story and bring Aladdin from where he was to a different place. It's not just it happened again, as we said in the first sequel. So I think overall, I think the consensus among fans where you should skip the second movie and go straight to this, a more natural sequel, is correct. And if you have Disney Plus, I think you should check it out.
Yeah, like I think I summed it up well. They tried. They actually tried. And it's a nice little Aladdin sequel. As I said, not blow away, not spectacular, not the best movie you'll ever watch. It's not like Toy Story sequel level good. But they tried, and it's good, and it's worth watching. Which is honestly probably more than I can say for a lot of these straight to DVD and straight to video sequels that we're going to watch over the next few weeks and months.
Yeah, we will be frustrated more often than not, but I came away happy on this one, and I'm glad I watched it again. We did see it as a kid, so I remember we rented it, but it was a fun movie, and I will be watching it again.
And you got Robin Williams.
What more would you want?
Really, what more do you want?
All right, Disney Thieves, we've nearly come to the end of the show for another week.
Are Disney Thieves people who steal Disney Plus?
Yes.
Who use people's Disney Plus logins.
Of course. We won't be graced by the musical talents of resident Magic by Design singer Nicole this week, but we can assure you that she will be back with a straight-to-video bop in the near future. New episodes of Magic by Design, as you know, or if you're listening for the first time you might not, land every Monday, where all magical podcasts are downloaded. Stop by our website at magicbydesign.buzzsprout.com to find a full list of podcast platforms. We're literally everywhere you'd care to look. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube, various podcast platforms I see in our insights that I don't know the name of.
Yeah, because there's a bunch of things that basically, if you're on Apple, you end up elsewhere. They just scrape the information off of Apple. So all of those, if you happen to use them for some weird reason.
Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. If you want to keep up with the latest from the show, you can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/magicbydesignpod. I've been very lazy with the content in recent months, but I will get back on it. You can also follow us on Twitter at magicdesignpod and on Instagram at magicbydesignpod. As always, we would greatly appreciate it if you would consider giving us a review on your podcast platform of choice, sharing the podcast on your socials, or perhaps even recommending the show to a fellow Disney fan.
Also, Spotify, by the way, ratings now.
Oh yeah, they have ratings, so please, if you listen on Spotify, give us is it a like or is it
it's a star, 5 stars.
Yeah, give us 5 stars. If you don't give us a 5-star rating on Spotify or otherwise, we will have 40 thieves ransack your home and steal all your riches.
Yes, but then they'll be like likable thieves and you'll get to like them, but then one guy will be mean and make them bad again. Yeah. And they drown, I guess?
Yeah.
Because like they do float, but they're also stuck in the middle of the ocean with no boat.
Yeah.
So those thieves are dead.
The fatigue will set in eventually.
Those thieves are super dead.
But as they rob you, they will sing a charming song, so you'll get something out of it. But
again, just like how they betrayed him, they did song. You cannot like be mad at anything done through song. It's life.
Join us next week as we catch up with Belle and Co. for our review of Beauty and the Beast sequel, The Enchanted Christmas.
Ugh.
Yeah. Christmas has come late, Gar, but it's not going to be good.
There's something about these movies that when they're just based around a season, you can tell like, oh no, there's going to be nothing here at all.
Yeah, they're going to phone it in. But until then, stay safe and remember, if you ever find a magical hand that turns literally everything to gold, it might not be a good idea to touch it with your bare hands.
Yeah, you will turn to gold. You will be gold. And then you will be playing the game of whether or not it's turned to gold or encased in gold. And do you want to take that chance?
Thanks for listening, and see you next week.